It has been 8 years since the Colts of Indianapolis have attempted to invade the Wild West of AT&T Stadium. That resulted in a 42-7 beatdown in 2014. This time, they're bringing a stallion. His name is Jonathan Taylor. But what is a stallion when you have a lion? Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys welcome in the Indianapolis Colts, and we are Cowboys Pregame Live here from AT&T East Plaza at at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. A little bit different this time around. Alongside Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. We are here over the next 50 minutes or so to break down this matchup between the Cowboys and the Colts. And gentlemen, last time we were out here, it was a playoff-esque atmosphere. It was against the Cowboys and the 49ers, and the atmosphere certainly lived up to the table. There's no difference here in Week 13.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Can you see a difference in the atmosphere today? Because this Cowboys team is 8-3, and you can see Cowboys Nation is loving it.
Without a doubt, Kyle. This is the same exact atmosphere we had in the playoffs. This is the most electrifying fan base in the National Football League. I can't wait to go ahead and break down this pregame for them. It's going down right here at AT&T Stadium.
I hear you, Church. I'm excited about it, man. I mean, with Dak finding the rhythm, doing what he's doing, the point total's just going up. He's number one here. He's number one there. They're rocking and rolling, Isaiah.
Listen up, man. The offense is starting to figure things out. The defense is doing what they do. We're here to take out some doggone Colts. Let's make it do what it do.
This is going to be a fun one, and the crowd is ready to roll. Speaking of the crowd, let's go down and check in with the fifth member of our crew, Haley Sutton, who's checking in with the fans in the atmosphere.
Guys, they have been with us this whole afternoon, rain or shine, counting down the Cowboys Nation. Check out these fans. Now, I gotta be honest with you, this is my first time being out here live for Pregame Live, and I gotta tell you, they have brought it all afternoon. It's been raining, it's been cold, and we got nothing else to say but go Cowboys, so we'll be hanging out with them for a little bit, but for now, I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Haley. Let's take a look at the NFC East standings because that is a big talking point at the moment. The Cowboys currently sitting in second place. Here's what the standings look like right this moment. The Giants and the Washington Commanders had a tie earlier today. The Eagles got their 11th win, so the Cowboys currently sitting 2.5 games back. A win today would certainly help things out, but when you look at the possibility of trying to catch the Eagles, Barry, can they do it, and is this something the Cowboys have to chase?
They can do it, but it's going to be difficult, all right? I understand that the Philadelphia Eagles, they beat the Tennessee Titans today, and that was going to be their toughest task. The rest of the season they had, the Saints, the Chicago Bears, and the Giants twice. I don't see them losing to those guys, so I think this is going to be a tough task for the Cowboys to go ahead and get that NFC East. But if they're in the playoffs, a win is a win.
I tell you what, don't worry about it. You know, you look to them going through everybody else. Make sure you do your thing, handle your wins one at a time, starting with your coach today, and you will be okay.
Man, Nate, I'm on your bandwagon. There's an old wise man's tale that says, control what you can control. You don't worry about the Philadelphia Eagles. Let them fly wherever they go. You play your one-game seasons every single week. Take care of your opponent and let the cards lay where they lay at the end of the year.
Got to keep that in mind because there is certainly something to talk about this Cowboys team. You look back to last year, and this was an offense that was number one in the National Football League. By this point, though, they had already had 4 losses. Now they only have 3. Last year, they rattled off 5 wins in the last 6 games, and this offense starting to figure it out as well. Dak Prescott back in the fold, and since he's been back in the fold, this offense has been cooking. Here are the numbers between weeks 1 through 6, and then weeks 7 through 11 when Dak returned, first in points, third in total yards, 6th in passing yards. They figured it out on third down as well. Nate, that was a big talking point for you. You wanted to figure it out on third down. The Cowboys have done this. How dangerous is this offense with Dak back in the fold?
Because now they can control time of possession with 32 minutes plus. They got, let Dak throw it about 35 times or less, keep the run game balanced. And hey, Dak is doing what he got to do. But Dak, be careful. Don't get too aggressive.
What do you think, Barry?
Look, I think we had this formula situated about a couple weeks ago. Lean on your strengths. The running game, the defense, and let Dak do what he does best, and that's
Right.
play action pass. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League at play action pass. If they can keep that formula going, the sky is the limit for this offense.
Ben, you heard the fella say it right here. That's exactly the model for these guys. They need to be able to run the ball, go ahead and give Dak the ball, let him do what he does in terms of the play action game, but he has to protect the ball. We have to improve this interception to touchdown ratio. As long as they take care of that, we're good to go.
Dak Prescott and that offense rolling at the moment. They've put up some amazing numbers lately, but can they continue? Here's what Dak had to say earlier in the week about improvements made, but they're not done just yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's 4 or 5 weeks. And that's not over the whole time of the season, you know what I mean? Where a lot of other teams you're comparing these last 4 or 5 weeks to their season stats in a sense. And we've got to continue to grow. And I know there's a lot of growth for this team. I know that we can continue to be better. Sure, those numbers are good, but those are just numbers. As I've talked to y'all about yesterday, we've got to be better, more disciplined. We got to. I want those numbers to be in the top 5 and or I guess, in penalties, right? We don't want those penalties. We don't want the things that have been nipping us in the butt, situational things, my turnovers. So there's a lot of room to get better and improve. And sure, those numbers are cool, and they're cool for you guys, but that's not necessarily going to win us games or get us to where we want to be.
I don't know if you can quantify, but how can you contextualize the mindset on offense of being aggressive now versus your rookie year, and how does that manifest in conversations with you and Kellen?
Between my rookie year and now, and aggressiveness, not even close. As I said yesterday, I'm not going to stop being aggressive. That's the belief in myself. That's Kellen's belief in me, and that's belief in this offense. And I mean, those guys making those plays, and whether it be third and long or what it is, it's just a risk versus reward. So I've got to be smarter on that. But I've worked hard to get to where I am, and the confidence in myself, this team, this offense, and this passing game. And that's just where the aggressive throws and just that aggressive mindset comes from, is the work that we've put into this.
We're having a blast out here at AT&T Stadium in the AT&T East Plaza, but let's go back down inside AT&T Stadium and check in with our very own Nick Eatman, who's down on the sidelines. And Nick, it is Salute to Service night for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're celebrating in a unique way. What do the helmets look like down there on the field when they're up close and personal?
Well, you guys, as much as you guys seem to be yelling and screaming out there, I still have a hard time hearing you. I think you asked me about the helmets, the red, white, and blue helmets. And, yes, they've got them. They're going to wear them. And let's see if the jinx is going to be different. Hey, you know what? I got one right here. I'm not even sure whose helmet I'm stealing here. Maher. We'll make sure we don't, mess up anything with his mojo or rhythm. But, yeah, there's they didn't play well in them last year. Let's see if it has something to do with that or not. I doubt it. It's a beautiful-looking helmet, and what it represents is even better than that.
And, of course, honoring all of the service and all of the troops that are here tonight. Tons of our armed forces are being celebrated here in Week 13 of the NFL season. Now, continuing with the trap game mentality, the last time they wore these helmets was against the Denver Broncos last year. That didn't go to plan. Now a chance to rectify that a little bit here in 2022. Could this be a trap game, though, because of the talent that the Indianapolis Colts have and some of the, even despite the record that they have coming into this week?
You can always say that just because of, they've beaten some good teams and they've played, the Eagles tough. You're talking about the Colts. But, if the Cowboys allow themselves to be trapped, it's on them. They're chasing, they're hunting. You guys talked about it in the standings a few minutes ago. They should be seeing what the Eagles are doing and what the Eagles did today. They've got to catch up and with the Eagles, stay on the pace as best they can. If they allow themselves to slip up, that's definitely on them. The Colts are they can be competitive. It's Sunday Night Football. If you're not focused, that's on them. I don't think that will happen. I think this team has shown the ability to play at a high level regardless of who is against them.
Exactly right. And you look at the challenge that they have with the Colts defensive line, a couple of Pro Bowlers up front. Who has the most pressure on them from an offensive lineman standpoint for the Cowboys side of things to get the job done and protect Dak Prescott tonight?
Well, I think it always kind of starts at the left tackle spot. Tyler Smith, obviously, the pressure's there. Anytime you play left tackle, there's going to be pressure. And so whether or not, you got DeForest Buckner over there or not, I still think it's protecting the blind side of Dak Prescott. That is to me, the most pressure spot, especially for a rookie, especially for a guy coming off a game that wasn't his best. He's practiced this week. They didn't have a lot of practice in that Thursday short week. A little different for a rookie to get used to it, and obviously he didn't have his best moment. We'll see what happens with a full week of rest in a couple more days, see how Tyler Smith responds at left tackle.
Nick Eatman joining us down on the sideline at AT&T Stadium. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again here in just a couple moments. Back here with the guys, Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback out here on the plaza at AT&T Stadium. The crowd is phenomenal. The energy is buzzing at the moment. But let's talk about some of the guys that won't take advantage of this environment tonight on the inactive list. Here are the guys that are unavailable for the Cowboys. It starts at the top with Quentin Bohanna, Jabril Cox, Marquise Bell, Nashawn Wright, and Will Greer. The good part about this is that there were multiple Cowboys in the mix as questionable heading into this game. That's not the case, and it looks like the Cowboys will be near full strength coming up against the Colts tonight.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. When you talk about the Cowboys being at the full strength, there's no surprises really on that inactive list right there. I would have loved to see Marquise Bell, that young safety out there, go ahead and do what he does best on special teams, but it looks like this team is at full strength right now, and I'm looking forward to a beatdown of the Indianapolis Colts.
The more amazing thing is I need Quentin Bohanna to get healthy. I don't know what his issue is, but I need for him to get healthy because he's going to put a strain on the middle of that defensive line because they have a good offensive line in the Colts. I'm talking about in the middle. The guards in the center, they are strong. I don't need Jonathan Taylor coming up my middle like that. So, Quentin, whatever's wrong, baby, fix it.
I'm on the train with you, Nate. I would like to see Big Bo in there, but obviously these guys already said it, that our defensive line is healthy. Our big fellas in the middle, the 1 techniques, the 3 techniques, those guys need to be sure to be able to handle the offensive line there. As long as they take care of business up front, I have no problems with this inactive list.
Yeah, nobody really standing out there, and there were a couple guys that were banged up. One of those guys was Malik Hooker, who earlier in the week, Cowboys Vice President of Player Personnel, said was the most under-the-radar player on the team this season. He's going up against his former team, and with more on that, we go down to Haley Sutton.
Yeah, guys, well, I sat down with Malik Hooker earlier in the week during Cowboys Hour, and quite frankly, he said while he was a free agent, he was uncertain about his future here in Dallas. He was nervous about playing under a new system, under a new defensive coordinator. But 2 years later, you see the impact he's made on that Dallas Cowboys secondary. And when he suits up to play against his former team tonight, he's not worried about his former team. He's worried about making an impact with that star on his helmet.
After being drafted by the Colts in 2017, Hooker arrived in Indianapolis with plans of making the Circle City his forever home. The injury bug, however, had other plans. A torn hip labrum, a bilateral sports hernia, a torn ACL and MCL, a torn meniscus, and the dreaded Achilles tear basically ended his time in Indiana.
I think I'm one of the guys that's a perfect description. Battling those severe injuries, 5 of them since I came out, and getting through those things and finally seeing the bright side now, and and put my best forward these last 2 years here in Dallas. It's special for me, and it's been probably the happiest I've been in a while. So I'm just keep focusing on taking a day at a time, play at a time, and staying in the presence.
He could have given up. Many players do, but not Malik Hooker. With a new team and a fresh start, he was determined to make the most of his time with the Cowboys.
Injuries and stuff like that comes with the game, and it just taught me, to believe in my faith. Pretty much, you gotta take your wins like your losses. Because I was drafted first round. You get the high praises and everything, and then you get there and injuries happen. It's like, all right, well, now you got to find something else to drive you to be that player that you want to be or that you plan to be, So I just found a new why, that motivated me more to, get to where I am today.
I go back to when he arrived last year in training camp. He's come a long way. I mean, just the rehabs that he's been through, and but he's his style of play. I mean, he's always going to be dealing with something because of his tackling ability out of the middle of the field has been exceptional this year. So he's got great ball skills. But yeah, it speaks volumes to Malik.
Fast forward to 2022, and Hooker is now preparing to face the very team where all that adversity took place. But when he takes the field on Sunday evening, Hooker won't be thinking about that torn Achilles or the friends he made while in Indianapolis. Instead, he'll be focused on his resiliency as a player, as a person, and as a competitor.
You know, you just stick to your process. You know, treat it like I said, I'm a vet. I've been in the league for 6 years. I know my routine. I know how to carry myself throughout the week, and I'm just stick to the process and treat it as if it's another game for me. You know, want to know.
Malik Hooker just one head in that three-headed monster room in the secondary. He has been such an addition to this Dallas Cowboys secondary, guys. So I'm excited to see him suit up against his former team and see what he can do against the Colts. Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Haley. And this may be the best question I've ever asked Barry Church through our entire time on Pregame Live. Of course, every week on DallasCowboys.com, Barry Church, former safety. How important are the safeties to the back end of the defense?
I think they're extremely important. I think this is the deepest and best safety unit they've had since Darren Woodson was out here winning Super Bowls. I mean, they each bring something special to the table. You got Donovan Wilson out there. He's your enforcer. He's the guy that best blitzer out of the three safeties. He's great in the box. He's your enforcer guy. Then you got Curse, who's kind of the jack of all trades out there. He's great in coverage one-on-one. He limits the tight ends in the pass, and he's also a dog in the box against the run. And then you got your center fielder out there, Malik Hooker, keeping everything in front of him and making sure he's a great tackler as well. I love when Dan Quinn puts these guys out there on third down. You're adding more speed to an already explosive defense out there and playmaking ability. These safeties have had a huge impact on this defense in 2022.
And each one of them at one point in time during the season and last year were captains, like where they set the back end. They make sure the coverage is right. And I like what this young guy, Malik Hooker, is doing, man. Hey, coming through adversity like that ain't nothing but admiration.
Man, you heard Barry talk about all three of these guys and what they bring to the table. Donovan Wilson has been leading the team in tackles with 70, right, only behind Leighton Vander Esch. But the thing is, these guys, you don't hear their name much, and that's a good thing because these guys are shutting down tight ends. Look at the tight ends that these guys have faced. Hayden Hurst, Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, Dallas Goedert, T.J. Hawkinson twice. The greatest yardage that was allowed against those guys, 48 yards. They've done a heck of a job in coverage.
They've done a great job, and of course Malik Hooker facing his former team, while defensive coordinator Dan Quinn will be facing his former quarterback, because Matt Ryan will be behind center for the Indianapolis Colts. 11 touchdowns, 14 turnovers so far this season, 2,600 passing yards. He's had some success statistically, but anytime you can see more turnovers, Isaiah, than touchdowns, that's a problem, and Matt Ryan's got a problem in terms of holding on to the football.
Yeah, Matty Ice is not Matty Ice. He's Matty lukewarm right around now. And what he's doing is, you already mentioned it, his turnover to touchdown ratio is not where he wants it to be. Couple that with his shaky offensive line and our amazing front seven, it's going to be a long night for him.
It's going to be a long night, but he's got some weapons to throw the football to on the outside. Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, and Alec Pierce, three guys on the outside that have had solid seasons to this point. But as a defender, former defender, Barry, when you look at these guys, does anybody really stand out?
No one on the outside for the Colts really should scare this secondary as a whole. I feel like this secondary matches up great against this Colts wide receiver unit. And I know what the top dog brings, Michael Pittman out there. He's a big, strong, physical wide receiver with great hands, but it takes him a long time to get open. And that's something that Matt Ryan will not have. He will not have time out there because he cannot extend the play. So unless they plan on bringing Reggie Wayne or Marvin Harrison out of retirement, this wide receiver unit for the Colts will be on clamps.
All we got to do is play with confidence. I'm talking to Anthony Brown. Just come in there, man, put your hands on. We should be able to go one-on-one with these guys and let our safety be able to stop this run game. So, Anthony Brown, have confidence, homeboy.
Man, straight vice grips all night long, fellas. That's all y'all need to be thinking about.
Dallas has forced 15 fumbles this season. Indianapolis has fumbled the ball 28 times, by far the most in the National Football League. Nate, when you look at these two in the matchup that the Colts have offensively against this Dallas defense, how big of a role will turnovers play in this one?
It would be everything. As far as us turning the ball over?
Either the Colts turning the football over.
It's everything, because that's how our defense feeds. That's how we put them into the third long situations. That's how we flip the field. So if we can get them turning that rock over, it's everything for us.
Exactly. The way to get this team momentum out of the door is the way to step on their throat is the turnovers. If they fumble the ball, we need to take advantage of it. If Matt Ryan wants to go out there and throw interceptions, catch the ball, get it back to your offense, and let them do what they do best, score points. Let this game be over before halftime. We don't want the Colts sneaking around, coming in there thinking they can still get a victory. Knock this thing out by halftime, and let's get on to the next week.
If they want to cough it up, we'll be the Robitussin. That's all I got to say. Let them go ahead and lay it on the ground, and we'll be there to pick it up.
I love that. And, of course, Micah Parsons may be one of the guys forcing those turnovers. Here's what he had to say earlier in the week about the matchup at hand and still trying to get better and better as a defensive unit this season.
you know, it can always be the opposite end, and the underdog is a true powerful story. And, you know, that means people going to come here and play with a chip on their shoulder. So, and I think people play the Cowboys differently. Same way you play the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're not going to come in and play the Cowboys. They understand it's a primetime game, understand who we are, and not many teams like us. So we got to play every team to a maximum extent and not overlook no one, because that's how upsets happen, and we just got to go out and be us.
When did you learn that people play you guys differently?
You know, just looking at the tape and just, you know, the things you see on the tape versus the things you see out there on the field, and, you know, obviously, you know, the extra behavior that teams play with and the edge they play with when they play us versus other teams.
You all have had a stretch facing really good running backs lately. How is Jonathan Taylor different or similar to the guys you've been seeing?
Just another good running back. Very explosive, especially hitting the hole, very fast. Extremely strong guy. We're going to have to wrap up, get to the ground, and not let him try to fall forward, what he tends to do. This is our rushing leader from last year, so he shows a great threat, and we got to take care of the threat.
Some would say it's been a down year for Jonathan Taylor. This doesn't look like much of a down year for one of the challenges of this Dallas defense today. 780 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns this year. Maybe the touchdowns could be a little bit higher for a guy who's really considered one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. But what type of challenge does he bring to this defense, Barry? Because he's different than any other tailback Dallas has seen.
Yeah, he's a complete back. This is a guy that can run between the tackles, but also has the speed to break it outside and has that home run speed to go ahead and take it all the way to the distance. But what the Cowboys are going to have to do out here, and they've done a great job these past 2 weeks, is swarming the ball carrier. And they're going to have great gap discipline as well. I need 3, 4, 5 hats to the ball every single time Jonathan Taylor touches the rock. He is that dangerous. There should be no one-on-one tackles out there, or it can be a long afternoon for the Dallas Cowboys defense.
This is what we talked about earlier. Neville Gallimore, Osa, and Jonathan Hanks, they got to do their job. They got to stop that middle. They got a strong center and 2 guards. We're going to have to make sure that we 2 gap, get our hands in the middle of their chest, read both sides, A and B gap, get rid of those guys, and lunge into this guy, man.
I need our defense to watch Space Jam. Remember the Monstars, I would say, hit him high, hit him high, hit him low, hit him low. That's what they need to do against Jonathan Taylor, because this dude can run the rock. He only has 2 100-yard games this year and 4 touchdowns, but just please believe, if you give him an opportunity, he will take full advantage of you.
Now, Isaiah, we've talked about this run defense for the Cowboys all season long. How much has your confidence grown these last couple of weeks? A big win over Minnesota 2 weeks ago. You had the big win on Thanksgiving against the Giants. Each of those guys, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, were threats. Do you feel more comfortable about the way this defense has been playing?
I think they're starting to play better collectively. I think that there's still a little bit of cracks in there, and we got to go ahead and super glue that thing up. But I think that overall they're starting to play better, and Dan Quinn is finding a solution for those issues we had early on.
Yeah, these past 2 weeks, the Cowboys defense, like I said earlier, has done a great job swarming. Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley, arguably 2 of the top 10 running backs in the National Football League. They've held them to a combined 111 yards. That will work. If we can keep that trend going in the right direction, like I said earlier, the sky's the limit for not only the offense but the defense as well.
Jonathan Taylor is a physical tailback, and he kind of fits that physical culture that the Indianapolis Colts bring to the table, because on the defensive side of the football, they've got some beef up front as well. Yannick Ngakoue, a teammate of yours in the past back in Jacksonville, Barry. And then, of course, DeForest Buckner, former first-round pick. 2 guys that can get after the quarterback. Nate, how big of a challenge is this for this offensive line to try and shore things up whenever they've got 2 big cogmiles coming at them?
We said over and over, just stay with the run game. Stay with DeForest Buckner, you don't want him. He's a long guy. He's a big guy, and he's very athletic. So what you have to do is you have to keep him guessing and keep him catching blocks instead of trying to get upfield. And if you do that right there, then that number 91, I can't pronounce his last name, Yannick. But yeah, we don't want him to find his way.
Yeah, this is going to be a great matchup overall and a great test for our offensive line, but I definitely got to lean towards the Cowboys offensive line on this one. This is a unit that has only given up 14 sacks throughout the entire season, and they have the 8th ranked rushing attack in the National Football League as well. So they're making holes for both Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott to go out there and get busy. So to me, this will be a test, but I'm leaning towards the Cowboys offensive line.
You guys just heard Barry talk about the offensive line, how they've only given up 14 sacks all season long. That ranks number 1 in the league. You know where else we rank in the top 5? Rushing touchdowns. If you run the ball effectively and go ahead and handle these guys the business on the ground, you won't have to worry about their pass rush.
Going to have to give him the business, and Tyler Smith's a big piece of that moving forward. As a rookie, he gave up a career-high 7 pressures last week. So when you look at Tyler Smith, how can he improve as he goes into this next week? Nick talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you look at him, Nate, how do you make sure that he's better this week than he was last week?
Technique. You got to believe what your coaches are teaching you. You got to put that into effect. You got to bring that to the field. This is where you earn your money, man. When you go against back-to-back players that have great talent, because a lot of times as offensive lineman, you're going to be facing better talent than you. So what saves you is your hustle, your grit, and your technique. Son, come out and set your feet and punch somebody.
Get that footwork down and ready to go, especially up against that defensive front from Indianapolis. Here's what Tyler had to say earlier in the week when talking about getting better, putting that behind him, but also learning from some of the mistakes last week.
Keeping neutral and doing the same thing you've been doing that's help you be successful. Like, of course, you watch the tape, and you see the mistakes you made, you improve upon yourself, get rid of those. But I definitely try to keep things the same.
So when you got a guy like 91, do you spend extra time looking at his tendencies and that kind of thing?
I mean, you definitely do. Just knowing that, he's a talented athlete, he's a speedy guy, high effort, high motor, great change of direction. You definitely look at guys like that. But, you tailor your approach to, your strengths. Like, I'm going to still do what I'm good at. I'm not going to change anything up. I'm going to just, I'm going to do me.
You guys have run for 170 yards a game for the last 4 weeks. How much does this team love the identity of knowing that it's able to run the football? How important is that to us?
I mean, that's a huge part of our identity. It all starts up front. We focus on that every week. We take pride in being able to move the rock. If you went on first and second down, the third down is going to come. You don't have to be worried about, all these blitzes and things of that nature. So we definitely take a lot of pride in that.
Of course, talking about that Cowboys offensive line, and Isaiah said it a little bit early on, only 14 sacks allowed this year, #1 in the National Football League. And if you want to play like some of the pros, you can sign up right now with the Dallas Cowboys one-day fantasy camps, Dallas Cowboys football and dance academy camps. You can go online at dallascowboys.com/academy. December 20th and the 21st is when you can sign up for those, so keep that in mind. You can sign up right now at dallascowboys.com/academy. Mike McCarthy has now had 20 wins in the last 28 regular season games for the Dallas Cowboys. He's had a ton of success in the regular season, but he's going up against a former player of his today in Jeff Saturday, who only has 1 win as a head coach. Here's what Mike had to say earlier in the week when talking about the coach and what he was able to do, because it's a unique situation in Indianapolis.
I mean, I think like anything in this league, I don't want to say this negatively, but I mean, when you think you've seen it all, something else happens, and so you got to be open-minded to it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different path, but it's the path that they chose, and in the reality of it, it doesn't mean anything to us, because we need to beat the Colts on Sunday night, and that's really the facts that matter. So it doesn't matter who's really coaching or playing, and because based off of what we just got done doing all day today, really focusing on ourselves, then that's where we got to keep our mind at. So, but yeah, I mean, you're talking about a talented football team. I mean, they got good tape, and obviously, you always know coaches on the other staff. So. This is going to be a big challenge, just like it is every week.
So it's a little bit different this time around between Jeff Saturday and Mike McCarthy, 2 guys going head-to-head as head coach. But does Mike McCarthy have an experience advantage, the fact that he's won 152 games in his career compared to Jeff Saturday's one?
Yes, he has all the advantage. I got to go with Mike McCarthy on this one. This guy's been a head coach for 16 years. He's taken a team to the top of the mountain. I'm talking about Super Bowl, and he won the Super Bowl. Look, Jeff Saturday is a great player, and he's probably going to be a great coach as things go on. But when you talk about experience, when you talk talk about the little nuances of the game. Mike McCarthy knows all about that. Jeff Saturday, he's just now starting. Like I said, he could be great later on, but right now, all the advantage has got to go to Mike McCarthy.
I agree with that experience. You can be a leader of men, but not these type of men, bro. They change on you just over and over and over every year. And Coach McCarthy has been able to do that. And he's taken a young team in the Dallas Cowboys that have not had a lot of winning success and turning them into winners slowly.
Yeah, these guys said it all. I mean, Coach McCarthy has a proven record. He's doing a heck of a job with the Dallas Cowboys. Jeff Saturday was an amazing player. He will be a Hall of Fame player. And unfortunately, today's Sunday.
This isn't Jeff Saturday. This is Jeff Sunday, and he's got to go up against the Dallas Cowboys. And this crowd here at AT&T Stadium has been absolutely incredible. Let's hear it, everybody out here on the AT&T Plaza, because Mike McCarthy has a challenge, and that challenge is trying to get the penalties down. Now, this year, the penalties have been much better as a whole for this Cowboys team, but does it still worry you, Isaiah, whenever we get deeper into the season, you start playing better competition?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about, how many penalties we've had this year. We're creeping up on our total from last year, and there's still a handful of games left. So they need to do a better job. I think that is going to put you in a position to lose games, especially when you start talking about your offense, your defense being ranked at the top of the league in all these categories. You don't want to give teams an opportunity to get back into it or simply take back over the game. Cut the penalties, fellas, and you're going to find yourself in the win column a lot more.
Yes, when you play better teams, penalties does count. But, penalties always need a partner. And partners are like turnovers, are like bad field position. Those things right there just enhances the penalties. What you fellas have to do is cut down on the penalties, don't have too many turnovers, and get great field position.
Yeah, these gentlemen said it all. I mean, we glossed over the penalties last year because the Cowboys were winning, and it ended up biting us in the butt when the playoffs came around. Hopefully Mike McCarthy can nip this in the bud early and often. That way when they get to the playoffs, we have no worries about penalties.
There's lots of growth still to be had for this Cowboys team as we take a live look inside AT&T Stadium. That's a great look at the bicentennial helmets that the Cowboys are going to be rocking tonight. Of course, honoring and saluting the service, but also the National Medal of Honor Museum is one of the reasons why they brought these helmets back out of the vault, back out of retirement last year. Second time they've won it here in the Mike McCarthy era. Now, we talked about growth in the penalties. We've seen some growth, though, out of some young tight ends, and more on those young tight ends. We've got Haley Sutton again, who got to catch up a little bit earlier in the week with Peyton Hendershot.
Yeah, guys, well, we really didn't know what to expect out of this tight ends group when the season started, right? We had Dalton Schultz coming in as the veteran leader under the franchise tag, and then we had these two other guys, Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson. They have since grown into such electric members of this Dallas Cowboys offense, and I had a chance to sit down with Peyton Hendershot, a guy who was undrafted coming in here. He just wanted his shot as he started his NFL career. Now, one thing many people didn't know, guys, is that he was almost a Kansas City Chief. He said he was on the phone with Andy Reid whenever he was going through that draft process after not being drafted. But he got a call from his coach, Lunda Wells, to bring him here to Dallas. But let's hear what he had to say about that draft process.
For a long time, it messed with me because, I was just one of those people, a lot of people grow up saying they're going to do things, but a lot of people just say it and they never do it. And I just felt like that was the first time in my life that I said I was going to do something my whole life, and it didn't happen. So there for a while, when I first got here, I kind of just went in a dark mode. I ain't talked to nobody. I just came down here on a mission. I'm going to do this, and when I come back home, I can tell everybody I did it. So it's just kind of when I first got down here, I just put my blindfolds and mirrors on, and I just locked in on the mission and just took it one day at a time. And it all worked out in the long run.
You can catch that entire interview on DallasCowboys.com. Haley, it was a phenomenal interview, but you've started to find a little bit of Peyton Hendershot's personality. The more success that they've had, this is starting to turn into not only a dangerous tight end room, but a fan favorite as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite thing in talking to Peyton Hendershot is he is authentically himself. I think where it gets kind of confusing is that him and Jake are attached at the hip. They talked about being best friends. He loves being able to have Jake with him in this process, but he plays with such a chip on his shoulder, so it's been so fun to get to know him.
How special is this, Isaiah, to see a team utilize 4 tight ends Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot, Dalton Schultz, of course, on the franchise tag, and then Sean McEwen, the way that the Cowboys have utilized them this year.
It's everything, and it's a testament to the tight ends coach, Linda Wells. We already mentioned it earlier right before the segment. He's doing a heck of a job. Most teams activate 2 tight ends, and then one guy is really a special teams kind of backup type of guy on the wing position on a field goal typically. To see 4 active tight ends all participating in the game and all making contributions is unheard of. So I just kudos to Linda Wells and kudos to these guys for finding a role and sticking to it.
Yeah, kudos to Linda Wells. And all 3 of these guys make this tight end unit so special. They all bring something different to the table. You look at Schultz, he's that security blanket. When Dak's in trouble, he's looking for somebody. Schultz seems to always get hoping. Then you talk about Ferguson. He's a jack of all trades, the best blocker out of the 3, and a reference or a good receiver as well. Then you talk about Hendershot. He's a stretch the field. He's a vertical tight end out there. If you want to match up him up against a linebacker, he'll give him the business. So this whole unit to me is special, and they've given great contributions to this offense for the Dallas Cowboys.
And it's so interesting, Barry, that you mentioned that. When I asked Peyton what his role was in that tight end room, he said, I'm the juice. I'm the guy who's going to bring the energy. I'm the guy who's going to do whatever it takes so my other teammates can succeed, and that's my favorite thing about him. He's such a selfless player. He's willing to get out there to do the dirty work. He told me, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be on all the offensive snaps, but when I'm in, I'm going to create the space. I'm going to block. I'm going to go downfield and create a little bit of a diversion so my other guys can be successful. He's an incredible guy in this locker room.
Yeah, it's starting to turn into a fan favorite. Of course, last week everybody saw them jump into the Salvation Army kettle and do a little whack at tight end. It's certainly something to keep in mind because not only are they fan favorites, but they're huge pieces in this offense, and that's a credit to Linda Wells, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, and utilizing those guys the right way. 3 of the 4 of the tight ends that we just mentioned have 10-plus receptions this year, but you know who leads the clubhouse in receptions? His name is C.D. Lamb. He's turning into one of the top receivers in the NFC. Here's what he had to say this week about building that role and, of course, the challenge going up against a guy like Stephon Gilmore.
I don't change anything. I approach every corner week in and week out the same. Obviously, they're a defender, and in a point they're in my way as far as getting a dub. And us as a team, their team is in our way, and we're looking to obviously come out with a win. But regardless of who we play, I feel like we just got to go out there and put out, the best film, the best outcome of the game that we can together.
Mike kind of hinted that you think Gilmore might follow you around. Have you had that happen this year? When it's the same guy, play after play after play?
Yeah, it's happened. I want to say the Giants, the first time we played them, Adoree did it, and it's just crafting. Obviously, he get a feel for you, you get a feel for him throughout the game, maybe the first couple reps, and then after that, it's just work. And that's kind of how I'm approaching it as, and I'm ready for whatever.
Here is the challenge for C.D. Lamb today, going up against the veteran, one of the best in the National Football League, Stephon Gilmore at the cornerback position. This is his 11th season. He's had 28 interceptions. It feels like Barry every year he just gets better and better. He's continued to make plays for this Indianapolis defense. That might be a shorthanded situation, shorthanded unit at times, but he is certainly not shorthanded.
Look, this guy is a technician, especially at the line of scrimmage. He's one of the best press corners out there. Look, and I love C.D. Lamb. I love him. He's really growing into that number 1 receiver role. But if you're matched up against Stephon Gilmore and he's shadowing you, it's going to be a long afternoon. But like I said, this guy is a technician at the line of scrimmage, and he can put guys to sleep out there. So it's going to be a tough matchup for C.D. Lamb this afternoon.
I hear you, man. But you know what? I'm looking at this C.D. Lamb. Take this personal, man. Look at a little bit of film. Look at your routes. Be a perfectionist this week. Come out, run routes, because he's a crafty guy, so take it personally.
Dallas, on the other side of things, will try and offset what Stephon Gilmore can do in the pass defense by running the football and getting after it on the ground. Dallas still a run-first offense, but Isaiah, will they stick to it? Because that's a big question.
Yeah, that's the question of the day, Colin. As long as Kellen Moore continues his growth and development as offensive coordinator and really showing the wisdom that he's gaining from Coach McCarthy and his willingness to stay with the run, I think we're going to be in a great position. We already talked about earlier how these guys are 4th in the league in terms of touchdowns from the ground game. They need to stick with that, and this is a winning recipe for them.
Yeah, they need to stick to that recipe. We all know what it is. Feed Tony Pollard, feed Ezekiel Elliott. Like you said, Kyle, this Colts defense out there, they can be ran on. And we have the perfect combination with Thunder and Lightning to run all over the Colts. Stick with the formula. Don't pass the ball 45 times. run the ball and pass the ball as needed, lean on your defense. It's a great solution.
You can throw it 45 times. I don't know how successful you're going to be. I mean, history shows that we're a run-first team. And I believe you have to throw the ball to win. But you have to be patient with the pass. Mix the run in. Be complimentary with your running pass, and everything will work itself out.
And Ezekiel Elliott also still working back from injury. He's one of the toughest guys in the entire country. Here's what he had to say about that injury and how it's been affecting him, but how he's ready to go heading into Week 13.
I feel a lot better. Like I said, I'm getting better every day. I almost feel like I can get out this brace, but we're gonna keep it on just for safety reasons. But yeah, man, I feel good.
How good did it feel to have a performance like you did, though? To be able to run and feel like your old self again?
No, I felt good. I felt good just to get back rolling and just looking to build on it.
What excites you about facing a Colts defense that's just kind of been all over the place this year? Those type of games when you're going into it, is there a different level of excitement or preparation in that?
I look at this Colts defense. I think it's a good challenge. You look at the front. You got a good interior defensive line. You got good edge rushers. You got a good linebacker crew. And they play very smart. They play very disciplined. They're very gap sound, and they play hard. So I think it's a good test for us. And I just think we gotta not beat ourselves, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
Zeke is ready to roll, and you can, of course, hear that. And I'm sure Cowboys Nation loves to hear that their tailback is ready to rock against this Indianapolis Colts defense. And it should be a fun one to see him just go one after the other right back into the teeth of the Colts. But it's a special night here at AT&T Stadium. We're out here for Cowboys Pregame Live. They're in there wearing the bicentennial helmets for Salute to Service, but also it is My Cause, My Cleats this week for the NFL. Haley Sutton has more on some of the different charities that are being affected this week.
Well, guys, this is one of my favorite events that the NFL does. It gives these players an opportunity to really share something that means something to them. Now, you can't see it right now, but I'm representing my mom today. She was diagnosed with Graves' disease earlier in the year, so I'm rocking blue Air Forces in honor of my mom as she continues to battle through that illness. But some other guys are doing some things that are really close to home as well for them. I spoke to rookie defensive end Sam Williams in the locker room, a guy who I've covered in my career before when I was working in Montgomery. He's representing an end to gun violence, something that has impacted his family very close to home. And when I asked him why he was representing Wear Orange, he said it gives an opportunity to help end something that has been happening all too often in our communities.
It's certain things that some people can speak on and some can't. And one thing I can speak on is gun violence, and it truly hit home for me. And it has some traumatic effects on my life when it first happened, but overall, I want to use them, my brother and my niece, basically as a reminder, it's not worth it, or something it can be prevented, or it can stop one day, and hopefully one of these days, using this cause, using whatever, my name, whatever, that one day, it will reach out to the world and see, my whole vision of this cause.
Guys, it was so. Oh, I
Go
cut
for
you
it.
off. Yeah, no, I was just going to say it was really cool getting to talk to Sam about this cause, and it's really cool because he's a rookie and he's really embraced the giving back to the community, creating awareness for something that has affected his community, affected his family so deeply. So I'm excited to see what some of these guys are wearing on their feet today.
Oh, let's take a look at some of them, shall we? We've got plenty of cleats to get to. We'll start with Sam Williams. He just showed these on the camera a couple moments ago, of course, going up against gun violence and supporting that cause today. Then we've got Damone Clark. Isaiah, you've gotten to know Damone over the last couple of weeks. These are clean. This is for the Child Care Group.
That's awesome.
Those are icy right there now.
Yeah, those are fire.
How about that? Anthony Barr, he is supporting Raise the Bar today with his cleats. Barry, you like those, don't you?
Oh, the blue with the black. Oh, kiss the baby. Oh, my goodness.
Fellow defender Anthony Brown, he is supporting mental health awareness with his My Cause, My Cleats today. It's got that gradient look on the back, Haley. Nice little
spray paint.
Yeah, a little spray paint all the way through.
Definitely something that is so important in the NFL going on right now, creating awareness
awareness, letting people know it's okay to ask for help when you need it. I love it.
And then Trayvon Diggs, he's got the Salvation Army. Of course, I was expecting some of the tight ends to maybe do something with the Salvation Army this year, or maybe even Ezekiel Elliott, but Trayvon Diggs is the one that sports it this time around with the red and the love beyond, of course, there on the side. And then we've got C.J. Goodwin. His is really cool. Mentorship, minority, and underprivileged.
Love
look
that.
at the sky blue look with these cleats.
That is awesome. Shout out to the special teams out there, man. That is clean.
He's a special teams ace, too. Don't forget it about C.J. Goodwin. Michael Gallup supporting the Boys and Girls Club with his cleats today. Ooh, icy white, Isaiah. Those are nice.
Yeah,
My Adidas.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we've got Zach Martin in the entire offensive line matching the bicentennial helmets with this one supporting the National Medal of Honor. So it's not just Zach Martin, it's the entire offensive line that's wearing these. So a really clean look overall. My Cause, My Cleats, one of the best weeks in the NFL, bar none. I mean, this is a great cause, all the causes across the board. And it allows the players to have some fun with their cleats and a little customization there as well. But before we get back to keys to the game, let's go down on the sideline in AT&T Stadium. We're going to hear from Cowboys COO Stephen Jones, who now joins our very own Nick Eatman.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Back indoors here. Nick Eatman along with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, and they're doing the show from right outside. But inside here tonight, it's Sunday Night Football. It's Sunday Night vibes, just like always, right?
Well, I think everybody just enjoys a good night game. You get all day to kind of get fired up about football. Obviously, a great weekend watching all the college games and then watch all day. And it's just something that our fans really enjoy is a big Sunday night game. And certainly it's going to be a very challenging opponent, what we're going up against here tonight. Matt Ryan, obviously a great competitor in this league, been to a Super Bowl, and of course, they run the ball really well, which a lot of people say is a challenge for us. So we'll see, and ready to go to work tonight.
You know, the term I keep hearing all week, I just heard it a few minutes ago, trap game. You know, it's basically because of the records. I don't feel like this team, your Cowboy team, is going to let another team come in and trap them, so to speak, especially after what happened last year in games like the Denver and stuff like that. Do you feel like this is a pretty focused team?
Oh, absolutely. As good as I've seen. I mean, the leadership is second to none. The start at the top with Coach McCarthy and his staff, Dan Quinn and Bones and the crew. And then, of course, you go to Dak Prescott and Zach Martin and over on with Micah and that crew. I just think the guys are focused week in and week out. They know that's what it's going to take if we're going to do what we want to do this year with this football team, and it certainly can be done, which is go in the playoff, get in the playoffs, have success, and roll from there.
You know, the defense has carried this team, at least for early on when you had some injuries on offense, but quiet as it kept, Dak Prescott, this team's averaging about 35 points a game when he's come back from injury. Is he playing his best football that you've seen since a couple of years ago?
You know, I mentioned back in training camp, I thought he had his best camp he's ever had since he walked in the doors of the Cowboys. And certainly, you know, we had the first game that was very tough and didn't play as well as anyone would have liked. And certainly he had the injury. But as you said, when he's gotten back, this offense has been rolling and got a great group around him, a great offensive line. We got great receivers that are doing a great job for us. And then, of course, that running game, so complementary to what we want to do, which is possess the ball and count on that defense quite a bit too.
Give me a name or two that you're going to be looking at, either that has struggled somewhat and you're hoping that he has a bounce back, or somebody that just keeps it rolling. Who you kind of focused on?
Well, I think the best, you know, at the end of the day, the ones who most of them are keeping rolling. I really can't point to anybody who struggled that much. You know, certainly what we do want to do is clean up the pre-snap penalties, the penalties. We do have to protect the football, and we can always use some more turnovers, as Dan Quinn would say. So that's really the big thing. Is I know the guys are going to be out there playing hard. They play with great energy, great tempo, great play tempo. I know they're going to do what they need to do. We just got to clean a few things up.
All right, perfect. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back out to you.
Thank you very much, Nick Eatman, down there on the sideline here at AT&T Stadium. We're wrapping things up here on Cowboys Pregame Live, but this has been an incredible night here from AT&T Stadium. The crowd out here has been phenomenal. Everybody's getting ready. It looks like everybody's starting to work into the stadium, too, because kickoff just about 20 minutes away. Back here with Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, Haley Sutton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Time now to give our keys to the game. We're going to start with Haley Sutton down there in the fans. She's got the fans kind of filing in behind her. Haley, what's your key to the game?
Yeah, for me, Kyle, it's start fast and finish strong. This team has struggled in the first half of games to getting out to a hot start. They have been very good in the second half, but I'd like to see the running game get going early, punch a couple of touchdowns in, very similar to the way they played that Vikings game a few weeks ago, and then cruise to a victory in that second half.
There you go. Start fast, finish fast, like the Cowboys need to. They did so a couple of weeks ago against Minnesota. They got to find that again. I like that key from Haley. Isaiah, what you got?
We need to go ahead and add to that turnover margin that the Colts have. They like to cough that thing up. Let's go ahead and pick up 2 of them.
You got to limit Jonathan Taylor. That's the only chance that they have in this game offensively. If they're balanced with the run and the pass, limit Jonathan Taylor, put it all on Matty Ice, and it's a wrap.
I like all of those keys, and I'm going with every one of them, brother. I love them all. Just dominate, Cowboys.
What you got, Nate? We're out here in front of the fans. Cowboys Nation is here. You've got to give us a game prediction. Who do you have winning this one between the Cowboys and the Colts, Week 13 of the NFL season, Nate?
Everybody's been saying it's going to be about 10 points. Everybody's been saying it's going to be a double-digit victory. You know, I disagree, man.
Yeah?
I think the Cowboys barely get by. 1 point. That's all we need. Yes, sir.
Hey, it's still a win in the win column, right? The Cowboys Nation knows a 1 point win for Nate Newton. That's not really the score. He just wants the Cowboys to win it. That's going to do it for us here for Cowboys Pregame Live. We've got plenty of postgame coverage coming up after the game is over on Cowboys Game Night. Nate and myself will be here at AT&T Stadium. We'll break it down for you and for the first word presented by Dr. Pepper. But that's it for us. It's the Cowboys and the Colts. We're going inside AT&T Stadium. You turn it over to NBC. It's Sunday night football. Can the Cowboys slow down the stampede of the Indianapolis Colts? For Barry, for Nate, for Isaiah, I'm Kyle Yeomans. For Haley Sutton, I'm Kyle Yeomans saying so long from AT&T Stadium. I'm losing my words. It's time to watch some football.